People think surviving a collapse takes hundreds of dollars in tactical gear. They're wrong. The cheapest store in America can carry you through the first 2 weeks. I learned that lesson in uniform. When the trucks stop rolling, the shelves empty in hours, not days, hours. And the smartest item on this list sits in the feminine care aisle. It stops bleeding faster than most first aid kits on the market. 9 items, around $15. Everything a veteran grabs before the crowd even wakes up. Civilians pay for the price tag. You're going to buy the function. Start in the feminine care aisle. I know how that sounds. Stay with me. A pack of maxi pads costs $1.25. That single pack outperforms gear 10 times its price. Here's what your training teaches and civilians never learn. Bleeding kills faster than almost anything in a crisis. A person can bleed out from a deep leg wound in only a few minutes. The first response is direct pressure with a clean, absorbent barrier. Field first aid doctrine drills that into every soldier who deploys. Now look at what a maxi pad actually is. It's a large, sterile, absorbent pad in sealed packaging. That's the exact definition of a trauma dressing. Most people have no idea. So they run to the pharmacy shelf instead. They pay $8 to $15 for a branded trauma pad. Same job, same function, 10 times the cost. That's the civilian tax on not knowing. Picture a real moment, a car wreck on a blocked road, a deep cut in the kitchen with the power out. No ambulance coming for hours. The person holding pressure with the right pad is the one who keeps a friend alive. Watch what one pad does for you. It presses down hard on a laceration to slow the bleed. It cushions a sprained ankle under a wrap. It filters grit out of dirty water when you've got nothing better. Dry, it even catches a spark and works as tinder. 1 item, 4 separate jobs. A single pad soaks up a serious volume of blood before it saturates through. That window is everything. Those are the minutes that keep a person breathing until real help arrives. Now think about how fast that shelf clears. When the first aid aisle gets stripped in the opening hour, this one stays fully stocked. Nobody panicking about supplies is thinking about hemorrhage control. That blind spot is your advantage. You grab 3 or 4 packs for a few dollars, and you've built a trauma kit for the price of a coffee. Stash 1 in the car, 1 in the bag, 1 in the house. A store bought first aid kit that does less runs $20 or more. 1 hard rule before you move on. This is pressure applied over a wound. It is not for packing deep inside one. That job needs real hemostatic gauze, and you need to know the difference long before you ever need it. I've put every fix like that into a free guide for you, linked at the top of the description for when the signal drops. Water goes first, every single time. The rule is 1 gallon per person per day. Dollar Tree stocks gallon jugs and multi-bottle packs for pocket change. Watch any storm coverage on the news. The water aisle is stripped clean before the rain even starts. Most people assume the tap will always hold. Then a main breaks or the grid drops and the pressure dies with it. Now they're staring at a dry faucet with a thirsty family and no plan. You won't be. Remember Texas in the winter of 2021. Millions of people lost power and safe water at the same time. Store shelves went bare in a day. The ones who had water stored wrote it out at home. Here's how you build it. Buy several gallons for the house as your base supply. Grab a handful of small bottles for your vehicle and your bag. The big jugs stay home. The small bottles move with you when you move. That's the whole system, and it costs you a few dollars. Store the jugs somewhere cool and dark. Keep them up off a bare concrete floor so they hold longer. Fill your bathtub the moment you see a storm coming, and that's dozens more gallons for flushing and washing. 3 gallons per person covers you for 3 days. That's the exact baseline FEMA sets for a household. Now understand the stakes, because they're higher than people think. You can go weeks without food. You go about 3 days without water before your body starts shutting down. Dehydration clouds your judgment first, then it takes your strength, then it drops you. Here's the mistake I see over and over. People spend $20 on fancy water pouches with a 5-year label. Nice to have later. But that same $20 buys you far more plain water right now, while the shelf is still full. Water is also your barter currency once the crisis sets in. The person who stored it holds the leverage. The person who didn't goes looking for it. Skip this one item and nothing else on this list matters. Fire, light, cordage, none of it saves you if you're already dehydrated. Water is the floor everything else stands on. You build it first and you build it deep. Now you feed yourself. Canned protein is the backbone of any short run. Think tuna, chicken, and Vienna sausages. Each can run close to $1. Everyone carries protein and calories with a shelf life measured in years, not weeks. Grab a jar of peanut butter too. It's dense fuel that never needs the fridge. Here's the detail civilians blow completely. They stuff the freezer full and call it prepping. Then the power dies, and 3 days later that food is spoiling in a warm box. They can't cook it, they can't save it. It rots while they watch a month of groceries turn into garbage. Shelf-stable protein doesn't care about the grid. It sits in the can and waits for you. Buy the pull tab lid specifically. That's the part people overlook until it's too late. When the power's out and you can't find the opener, a sealed can is a taunt, not a meal. Pull tabs mean you open it with your bare hands if you have to. Now see everything one can does for you. It's a full meal with no cooking required. It's protein your body burns slower than sugar, so it holds your energy steady for hours. It's the fat and salt your body craves hardest under stress. And it's barter, because a hungry neighbor will trade real value for food they can eat tonight. A single can of meat carries a couple hundred calories or more. Stack 2 weeks of it per person, and you've covered the window that matters. Rotate the cans into your normal meals, so nothing ever expires on the shelf. The math is simple. Around $1 a serving buys you food that outlives the emergency. Compare that to freeze-dried survival meals running $8 to $12 a pouch. Same job, a fraction of the price, and you can actually stand the taste of it. While everyone else is dragging a thawed, stinking freezer to the curb, you're eating a can of chicken and staying strong. That right there is the entire difference between planning and panicking. Fire is a priority, not an afterthought. Cheap disposable lighters are the fastest, reliable flame you can buy. Grab a multi-pack, then grab another one. Here's the rule your training beats into you. 1 is none, and 2 is 1. It means anything you truly need, you carry more than one of. Civilians buy a single lighter and feel prepared. Then it gets wet, or it runs dry, or it walks off in someone else's pocket. Now they've got no fire and no backup at the worst possible moment. That's a failure you can erase for $1. Understand how much fire actually does for you. It boils questionable water until it's safe to drink. It cooks that canned protein into a hot meal. It warms you when the heat is out and the cold is setting into your bones. It signals rescue after dark from a long way off. It lifts morale when people are scared. And steady morale keeps a group alive. 1 flame, 5 survival jobs. Now spread them out. Keep a lighter in your bag, 1 in the car, 1 in the kitchen drawer, and 1 on your body. If you lose one, you've still got 3. Keep them dry in a small zip bag, because a wet lighter is a useless lighter. A lighter also seals the frayed end of a cut rope in 2 seconds flat. Redundancy isn't paranoia. It's just planning done right. A handful of lighters cost you a few dollars total. Compare that to a fancy fire starting kit running $20 or more with a single point of failure. The cheap stack wins because it's in 4 places at once. Here's the failure chain nobody plans for. No fire means no clean water. No clean water means sickness. Sickness in a crisis is how strong people go down fast. The person with 1 lighter is 1 accident away from that whole spiral. You're never going to be that person because you bought 5 and scattered them. Now pay close attention. This is the one to write down. Plain unscented household bleach is a water purifier hiding in the cleaning aisle. 1 small bottle costs a little over $1. That single bottle can make an enormous amount of dirty water safe to drink. Here's the exact method. straight from EPA and CDC guidance. 8 drops of regular unscented bleach per gallon of clear water. That's about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Stir it well. Let it stand for 30 minutes. If it doesn't carry a faint chlorine smell after that, add 8 more drops and wait again. If the water is cloudy, filter it through cloth first and double the dose. That's the whole protocol. The chlorine kills the bacteria and viruses that put people in the ground after a disaster. This is the same principle behind military water discipline in the field. Out there, bad water pulls more troops out of the fight than the enemy ever does. It was the same in New Orleans after Katrina. Broken sanitation, not the storm itself, drove much of the sickness that followed. Now here's the civilian mistake. Most people panic buy a filter for $20 to $40 or more. Nothing wrong with a good filter. But they never think of the $1 bottle that treats hundreds of gallons. Let that ratio land on you. 1 bottle. Hundreds of gallons of drinkable water. Run the cost per gallon, and nothing on earth beats it. And it isn't only water. That same bleach sanitizes the surfaces you prepare food on. It cleans the area around a wound before you dress it. It disinfects the shared gear that makes other people sick. 2 catches you have to respect. Use only plain, unscented bleach with no additives, no color-safe formula, and no scent. And bleach loses strength over the months, so you rotate it just like you rotate food. Treat it right, and it's the single most powerful dollar you'll spend in that whole store. Because most people who die after a disaster don't die from the disaster itself. They die from what they drank afterward. This one item is how you stay off that list. Light disappears right after water. Same panic, same empty shelf. A cheap LED flashlight and a pack of matching batteries cover you after dark. Buy them together in the same trip. That's not a small detail. That's the whole trick. Here's the classic civilian failure. They own a flashlight somewhere in a drawer. It's got dead batteries, or the wrong batteries, or no batteries at all. So when the lights go out, they're waving a dead tube around in the black, cracking their shins on the furniture. You won't make that mistake, because you bought the light and its power source together. If the store has cheap headlamps, grab those first. A headlamp keeps both your hands free to work, cook, or carry a child. See what a working light really buys you. It lets you signal for help across a distance. 3 quick flashes, over and over, reads as a call for rescue. It lets you move safely through a dark house full of tripping hazards. It keeps your kids calm, and calm kids matter, because darkness is what turns fear into panic. Give each family member their own light so nobody's ever stranded in the dark. 1 tool, 4 jobs. Every one of them matters at 2 in the morning with the power out. Buy 2 lights per person if you can. You already know the rule. 1 is none. Standardize on 1 common battery size, so every light in the house feeds from the same pack. Keep a set of spares sealed in a bag so they hold their charge longer on the shelf. A light and batteries together cost you a few dollars. A dedicated emergency lantern runs $20 or more for the same basic function. The part people always forget is the batteries. They buy the light and leave the fuel hanging on the shelf. Then they're right back to a dead tube in the dark. Darkness after a disaster is when accidents happen and people make bad calls they can't take back. You're going to be the calm one, holding the only light in the room. That single fact changes how everyone around you behaves. Here's one. Nobody sees coming. A crayon is an emergency candle. A standard wax crayon burns for around 30 minutes as a light source. The paper wrapper acts as the wick. The wax body is the fuel. It's a candle a child could make, and almost no adult in your neighborhood knows it. A $1 box of crayons is hours of backup light waiting quietly in a drawer. Grab a pack of birthday candles while you're there too, because they relight and cost almost nothing. Sit with that ratio for a second. Here's exactly why it matters to you. Your flashlight batteries won't last forever. When they finally die, most people are finished for the night. They sit in total darkness and wait for the sun. You reach for a crayon instead. Stand it upright on a hard, flat surface. A small blob of melted wax holds it in place like a base. Touch a flame to the paper top. It catches and it burns steady, all on its own. That's 30 minutes of light per crayon with no batteries and no wiring. It gives off small heat too, enough to warm your fingers on a cold night, enough to take the chill off a closed room, enough to light a stove burner or a bigger candle. One cheap box. Many uses. Never leave any open flame burning unattended, especially around kids. Here's the quiet advantage. When your neighbors burn through their last batteries in a week, you've still got a drawer full of light. Civilians would laugh at a crayon in a survival kit right up until the second their last battery dies. Then they'd hand over real money for 30 minutes of flame. You already own it for the price of a kid's coloring set. And that is the whole game on this channel. It's never about the expensive gear. It's about seeing the tool everyone else walks right past on their way to the checkout. Now you grab the two most versatile tools in the entire store: duct tape and a length of paracord or utility rope. Together, they solve more problems than a toolbox costing $50. Start with the tape. It patches a torn tarp in seconds. It seals a cracked window against wind and rain. It splints a broken tool handle or even a broken finger. It closes the edges of a wound in a real pinch until you can do better. A strip on your heel stops a blister before it ever forms. Now the cord. It builds shelter strung between two trees. It hangs your food up and away from animals. It secures a load to your pack or the roof of your vehicle. It replaces a snapped bootlace or a broken bag strap without a second thought. Real paracord hides 7 thin strands inside the outer sheath. Pull those out and you've got fishing line, sewing thread, and snare wire. Here's the civilian version of this moment. Something breaks, and they've got nothing on hand to fix it with, so a small failure snowballs into a big one. A leaking shelter becomes a cold, wet, sleepless night. A broken strap becomes gear they leave behind on the road. That's how untrained people lose ground, fast, over things that were fixable. Your training runs on improvising with whatever's in your hands. Give a trained person